Hello everyone, doing a little live stream here. I have had zero sleep. Um, Ed, you've just woken up. Am I correct in assuming it's kind of early in the morning there for you? I mean, now, what time is it here? It's 20 to 9. It must be
It's
what?
4 in the morning.
Yeah, it's 4 in the morning. You're up early. You're always up early. I remember like getting up at 10 and switching on the computer and Skype and checking everything, admin bullshit. And then you're there on Skype saying like at like 5 in the morning, going down and getting your bagel in New York. Um, will
Look, my bagel.
will you be doing that this day?
Um, uh, I'm in more of a scrambled eggs on a roll kind of mood.
Are you sure that's kosher?
Uh, I know it's halal, but I'm not sure beyond that.
You don't know. You have your
As
accent.
long as the blood is running from the goat, it's okay.
Oh fucking hell! I'm in a sense I'm disappointed that you don't naturally talk like that, and you have a kind of American Western. You do have a Jewish tinge to your accent, kind of a Hebraic tinge, but it isn't the stereotypical Jew from New York. It's not that kind of like
It's more of a Ben Shapiro fast talking thing. I think
yeah.
that
Yeah, although I think
I
he's very Semitic. You are actually less Semitic than he is in that sense.
oh well, thank. I'm not sure if that's a compliment or an insult. Actually, I'm not. I kind of wish I was more, but I feel like at the same time, I I wish like lately I've been watching a lot of well it started when I watched Michael Mann's Heat. I watched it alongside um Cater Endless and Quid Veritas were rewatching it as well, and at some point we intend to do a hangout on the topic of the film. But
Right.
basically, it started when I rewatched that. Then I went on to rewatch a bunch of other films with De Niro and Pacino in them. I rewatched A Bronx Tale. I rewatched Casino. I rewatched Goodfellas.
Oh, you told me when
Um,
this was
yeah,
happening.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And I noticed all of these really incredible, sort of like tri-state, regional, and New York, like accents from these Mediterraneans and Jews and whatnot. And it was like I was just thinking like. Like I kind of wish I had an accent like that, but it's like you can't fucking change your accent when you have one. It just doesn't. And even if you tried, like you wouldn't be. Even if I tried to sort of talk something like this, I don't know, but it wouldn't really stick up. I wouldn't be really be able to keep doing it. I do move my hands very much, but that's as close as I'll get. I'm still
yeah,
stuck with
yeah,
my sort of bland-ish accent.
yeah. Well, it's not a bland accent. It's obvious from your speaking that you are Jewish, but it's not in the kind of exaggerated sense. Um, I don't know if
If
it's
you know what you're looking for.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly, Goy. Exactly. Um,
This is a good way to kick off the stream, I think. God, you haven't gotten any sleep. That's crazy.
no, I haven't. No, I can do this quite well. It's
What tea have you been brewing?
well, this morning I've had 2 mugs of Earl Grey. I'm gonna try and start drinking less, but yeah, I've had 2 mugs of Earl Grey. Right now, I just have a glass of water. I
Right now, I've
genuinely,
got.
I feel fine. I'm a little skittish, and I'm a little umming and ahhing today, but otherwise I feel rather normal. I'm quite good at doing this whole sleep deprivation thing. On the coach back from the Extremist Club, because me and my cousin we booked the entire thing for an entire day in one day. So he left at 8 in the morning, got back at 5 in the next morning. On the coach back to Exeter from London, I was trying my best to stay awake, and I was actually having oral or sound hallucinations. It was really bizarre. I kept hearing as if someone was playing a xylophone next to me.
Oh, that's too spooky,
It was
man.
weird. It was very strange. Like someone kept
And
playing.
then you started to see marching
No,
skeletons
I didn't
on
have
the
any
train.
visual hallucinations, but it was all oral. Um, spooky, scary skeleton song. It wasn't on a fucking Halloween. Um, skeletons playing each other's rib cages. But no, it was just this kind of. It was just this kind of like a sort of almost like a nursery rhyme little tune, like a little riff, basically, a few notes on the xylophone. Um, kind of soft and in major, in low major. It was interesting. But then as soon as we got back to Exeter and I had to kind of wake up and get off the coach, me and my cousin, as we walked out into the empty city at 5 in the morning, we felt really awake. My cousin did go for a sleep for a while, but I was really nervous about missing the stop because the coach went all the way down to Penzance, which is in the bottom of the country. Um, so we didn't want to fucking end up in Penzance. So, but it was interesting. As soon as we stepped down into the cool air of Exeter, where there was no one around, we both felt totally awake and we could walk a few miles home. So that was that. It was quite pleasant.
Yeah, I've noticed that. Sorry, go ahead.
Go on.
No, I've noticed that whenever you're dismounting a vehicle, like a coach bus or a train or something like that, you tend to get a second wind naturally in the body. Or let's say if you've been sitting in a movie theater for a long period of time, your body seems to give you a natural burst of energy after engaging in sedentary awake periods.
Yeah. It's just a body.
I always wonder what's going on there.
It's most of it's adrenaline. You'll have basically your body will inject itself with a shot of adrenaline, and it gives you a bit of energy and propels you into consciousness. Although I would recommend kids don't deliberately shirk sleep because it is neurologically healthy to sleep and get at least 8 hours or so of sleep every night. And there are some people who don't need sleep. I think Donald Trump famously only needs like 5 hours of sleep every night. Which is why, for a 70-year-old man, he's as spry as any 40-year-old, and as high energy and as active, and as expressive as well for someone his age. Compare him with Hillary Clinton. It's quite amazing considering he's older than she
God.
is. And how fucking old and cranky and decrepit she's looking as of late. And compared to Donald Trump,
and then take into account the fact that women have longer lifespans and burn out far shorter than men do.
Yeah. So
men lose their hair. Men lose their hair first. Generally, men, age much quicker. But
it's interesting, especially considering they had like similar, well, not similar lives per se. They have quite different lives, but standards of healthcare and medicine and cleaning and products and all these sorts of things would have been similar for the two of them. So there aren't too many variables there we can consider regarding the differentiation. Especially like you mentioned, it should be the opposite. It should be the other way around. Hillary Clinton should be far more spry and energetic than Donald Trump, but that isn't the case. Anyway, I think we should save political talk for next Tuesday when we do an ad ned. At least of that nature, because we will be talking about the US
election. We can talk about Hillary then.
I see. I thought you was mocking the fact that I sometimes don't speak properly. I say Hillary.
Don't worry, my better isn't that well thought out.
Or I say I go like water. In my inner lower class Cockney kind of comes out. Yeah,
it does sort of lapse in and out from time to time, but it's natural.
Worse when I've had a drink. It's worse when I've had a drink, and I tend to rant. The worst it's been was, this is months ago. I think it was very early this year. I had an entire bottle of wine, and wine notoriously rather inebriates me quite efficiently. And I was in like a Skype group with like Britpole lads and all the rest of it, and I was calling everyone kikes. It was, and we were. I can remember parts of the conversation about monarchy and all these things, and I was trying to argue points, and every time when someone disagreed with me, I called them a Jew or something. So hopefully, I'll try not to get drunk around you, mate, when you come over, and then we get black eye. It'd be fucking justified, but I mean, it'd be funny if we were recording.
Hardly.
But otherwise.
The closest it'll come to blows is maybe some Aryan bonding wrestling sessions.
Oh, you're gonna do a fucking Jack Donovan
in the fields of Exeter,
in the fields of the southwestern English countryside, frolicking through the meadows.
Yeah. We're gonna teach each other the way of men.
This is quintessentially Aryan. Base Jack Donovan, lads. Everyone should read his Way of Men. Tells you everything you need to know. In all seriousness, it actually is a good book. to a degree. There are, of course, faults, but it
The
is,
way of men.
yeah, yeah. Jack Donovan's stuff, generally speaking, is quite good, despite him being a homo in that kind of sense. Pagan homo as well. I mean, that's even worse. So, but no, he's actually quite a clever dude. Anyway, let's have a look at some of these comments.
Comments in already.
Yeah, of course. People always fucking tune into these things. I don't know why. No idea why. Um, anyway, yeah, Akata recommends us that we bring the Greco-Roman wrestling oil. Yeah, we'll make sure to bring that for the wrestling. I got you. Anyways, it's annoying because no one else is going to be up at this time. I mean, it's 9 o'clock now in England, so people should be getting up unless they're lazy neats. Oh, what was I doing yesterday? Getting up or the other day? Yeah, no, it was yesterday. Getting up at 11. Dear. Ad hominis. Should we differentiate gay identity politics from philanderism, which is Donovan's viewpoint? Um, I think. Oh dear, this whole topic is something James has addressed very well at Casual Histrionics or canonized.wordpress.com regarding the gay question. I think the fact of the matter is, people who have,
The
who are
GQ.
the GQ. But I do think sexual orientation is a matter of. I don't think it's something which is a choice. I think acting upon it is a choice, of course, but the actual inner orientation itself, I don't believe, is something which you actively, consciously decide. In the sense of an optional choice. So I think people. That's why I'm always
Sometimes it
skeptical.
is.
I don't think
I
there
mean,
are. I don't think there are people
no,
who can suddenly say, "Yes, I'm
no,
gay today."
no. It's not like that. But there are people who can sort of will themselves into it. I think it's easier with
Hmm.
women than with men, but I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, that's
I feel like
yeah.
men, it's more fixed.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I agree with you. I do think women are naturally, just by their nature, and I don't mean to. And I'm not saying this to be. Um, I don't want to be derogatory, but I do think women, by their nature, are more promiscuous than men. Even though, actually, technically, men are more promiscuous than women, I do believe there is an element in the woman, if left unchecked, which leads to promiscuous behavior and bisexual behavior, and a kind of confusion of the sexual drive, etc. But no, men are obviously programmed to be promiscuous from that point of view, regarding fertility and all the rest of it. But I think the whole gay question is just mostly it's not worth even addressing. Degenerates are going to degenerate. If you know people who are degenerates, tell them to stop. If they don't listen to them, make them listen to you. like, I think there are, unless someone is gay themselves, which I'm not, so I can't really go into that. But it's one of these issues which I do think it is kind of a fringe thing. You know, I do think if we're looking at a societal perspective from this point of view, people being perverts has always existed. That doesn't mean it's good, but the fact is, for example, regarding marriage, it wasn't gay people who destroyed traditional marriage. It was straight people by being promiscuous, adulterous, and all the rest of it. Um, so I think the whole thing is mostly the questions answers itself. Common sense answers this whole topic for you, really. But I don't believe it's kind of subject for obsession. Not in the same way racial identity should be sought after and obsessed over. I believe it's a question which should be. But these sorts of topics often, in my opinion at least, are they seem to me to be rather unimportant. Not to say insignificant and irrelevant, but regarding in comparison to other things, they are subordinate. So
In terms of the answer to the question, I think that there's a lot less nuance to it. You know what I mean? It's a lot more straightforward and biologically obvious to
mm,
a human. You know, it's spiritually obvious which direction is the right way to point.
yeah, yeah. Um, so there you go. That's my opinion on that matter. I'm not a full, as people know, like a gas the homos person. For the same reason, I'm not a whole gas the trannies, you know, gas the Negroes or whatever. I just don't. Such questions to me just speak of pointing fingers to the external world, outside world, to anything which is extrinsic, which is not what I'm interested in. If I was a homosexual, I would take interest in the question, but I'm not. So it doesn't. It's not something I can really get hands on with. So yeah, just to correct what I said about women and promiscuity or promiscuousness, I have to correct myself based upon what Athena and Kate are saying. Athena, of course, being a woman, so I think her word must be respected on the matter. Um, Confusion, yes, sexually. Promiscuous, no. Um, yeah, and Kato then goes into it. Yeah, I have to correct myself. Yeah, I think women are more prone to sexual confusion when there aren't restrictions and a structure when there isn't a structure in place. Um, but I think men are as well. But I do think with women it is worse. It's more um, maybe it's my own inner bias, but there's something very tragic and upsetting about women who are promiscuous or sexually, um, you know, of that type. You know, having it's a black pill, isn't it? It's common filth tier kind of um, when you, especially when you look out into the modern world today, um, and you observe certain things. With men, I see more agency. Although men can be degenerate and lost and all the rest of it, there is the fact I do think men on average have more agency than women do. That isn't to mean all women are just mindless serfs, of course not. But men have more power and responsibility just by their nature. And so when they choose to do one thing or another, I see it as a mistake and something which is a consciously willed wrong action, which can be easily solvable. With a woman, however, I perceive it, and this is my own intuition, my own personal opinion. Perhaps I am biased, but with women, I perceive it as all the more tragic because it isn't so much that she's let herself down, but that, or let herself go, but that her father has, and her brothers, if she has any, and all the rest of it. The whole structure around her has collapsed, and the results are, single motherhood, feminism, and all the rest of it. Um, so that's that. Talking about these topics. Did you have anything to say?
Yeah, sorry, I was just getting some tea. Hold on.
No, that's no worries. No worries. Derek Crumplesnatch. That name is always fucking funny. Talk about the Aryans who ruled India, tbh. I can't really. I'm not an Indiologist. Indiologist. I don't know. Um, I can. What do I know of the topic? Not too much, actually. I know Evola
Start
dedicates.
with The Horse, the Wheel, and Language. It's a good book.
Okay, that's good. You can recommend that. Cool. Survive the Jive would be able to answer this question very much more succinctly than I ever could. But my thoughts aren't myriad. So what do I know of the question? I, a good deal of it is from Evola's Doctrine of Awakening, as well as other bits and pieces which I've just skimmed across. But I don't know what the question really is, Derek. What was there to say? Morning, Brandon. How are you? Um, dear. Yeah, things are going a bit quiet here this morning, aren't they? Okva says feminism is a marketing strategy deep down. Um, hmm. No, I don't. No, I can see why
I
you
just
say
put
that.
on the full-on sexy headset.
Again, good grief, you're treating yourself. But as for feminism being a marketing strategy, no, I don't believe that's quite it. I think at some level that's true, but I don't think that's in the whole thing. Anyone watching the upcoming UFC 203, says Cater. I don't know what that is. Is it some Yank bullshit? It's some Yank trash? I don't know. Is it
It's
true?
the ultimate. I think it's the ultimate fighting championship.
Oh, right. Oh, no. I don't. I don't watch television or things like that. So I wouldn't know. I'm not cool. I'm not cool enough. Please don't bully. But I'm not in the loop. Is it true that the alt-right is full of fags, or is it just a DNC chill tactic? Asks Brandon. It's totally true. We're all really gay here. I just yep. In all seriousness, it's not. I don't think most of the people saying that and the whole the alt-right is full of degenerates. Look at that Dante guy on the Right Stuff forums and Milo Yiannopoulos. I don't think most of the people saying that are conscious DNC shills looking to cause bullshit. I think they are that implicitly and by their nature, but further, I think they actually believe it. Most of the people saying that, though, are kind of low IQ, and this is going to be unpopular for me to say this, but low IQ kind of Nazi boo kind of image board going types who just want their kind of for the white race sort of thing going on, and that's that. And anything which is a bit more complicated than Hail Hitler is an enigma to these people. So, because anyone who's spent any degree of time involved with people under the alt-right umbrella, anyone who's spent any time talking to people who are involved with the community and the network, which is thousands strong, um, will understand the very nature of it and won't be under the impression that everyone, absolutely everyone, is a limp-wristed cock-sucking degenerate, because that's not true. It's retarded. Thoughts on deism, Ed? What are your thoughts on deism? I completely
I
forgot.
don't have any.
Yeah, I've completely forgot what deism is particularly. Uh, First thing in the morning, haven't had any sleep, so don't bully me, lads. Okay, deism derived from the Latin word deus, meaning God, of course, is a theological position that combines the rejection of revelation and authority as a source of religious knowledge with the conclusion that reason and observation of the natural world are sufficient. No, it's untrue. The flaw there is reason and observation of the natural world are sufficient to determine the existence of a single creator. A single creator. Uh, that itself is nonsense. God is not a creator. He is, he is the creator, not a creator. He is not one amid many. He is one. Heideggerian being, yada yada yada. Perennial metaphysics, all that good stuff. The idea that you can just look at nature and suddenly see, oh, this was intelligently designed. No, arguments for intelligent design don't come from physicality and from the material world. They come through philosophical reasoning. So the world is imbued with intelligibility. It is intelligible. It is understandable. It has a understandable form. This is logos. Yada yada yada. We can babble on about this shit. I've gone on for ages before, but no, deism. Deism is just a pseudo religion for moderns who want to believe they're clever. Okay, if the traditional Britain group invited me to give a speech, would I? No. Thoughts on the traditional Britain group and the Monday Club? I don't know enough about these things to really give my quote thoughts unquote. But regarding the traditional Britain group, it's not radical enough, and I know that firsthand from knowing people who are involved, as well as knowing about some of the things they've done and said, and its members have said, and it's what Gregory Lord of Frost has said, and things like this. It's not my sort of crowd. There are too many old people. And not old, not even old in the sense of just their age, but in their mentality and approach, and they just seem really fucking boring. They just seem really dull, ineffectual, grey, dying old people, and not just like I say regarding their age, but their attitude, their spirit. That's probably a generalization, but that's the vibe I get from the traditional Britain group. And also the term traditional Britain, it doesn't mean anything. I'm not going to nitpick too much, but there you go. Okay, so apparently this is some other drama bullshit. Millennial Woes said, if homosexuals and bisexuals abandoned the alt-right, it would die. I don't think that's quite true. But apparently Greg Johnson is a homosexual, and he's a very important fellow. James O'Meara, he is a perv, as I've said before, but he is a clever chap. Donovan as well. Woes, I suppose, as much that I don't know if he would still call himself bisexual or anything. This whole fucking topic is such a waste of time. Why do people care? If you don't like someone, don't talk to them. This has been my position for as long as I've known of these silly dramatic bullshit things. If you don't like someone, ignore them. Or if you can totally shut them down forever, do that. But the fact is, no one can do that to anyone on the internet. So just shut the fuck up and stop whining. If someone has a shitty website and you think you can do it better, do it better. All this bitching and drama and oh, he said that, she said that. It's fucking childish, girly bullshit. And anyone who's taking part in it should be fucking slapped. Honestly. Anyways. Thoughts on Adrian Davies declaring Jez Turner a government shill? Cater, you still haven't sent me that video. I don't believe personally that Jez is a government shill. I think he's excitable and a nationalist, and he will make the mistakes of a nationalist, but I don't believe he's working for the state. Can you talk about the everything is subjective argument? Well, surely the claim everything is subjective is thus subjective. So it just falls flat on his fucking face, doesn't it? Anyway. Joe Owens also thinks Jez Turner is a government shill. Joe Owens also thinks Angelo Gage works for fucking the FBI.
One Man's Chorus asks if I'm going to NPI. The answer is no. I don't really think it's good form for non-Europeans to go to the NPI necessarily.
That's interesting that you say that.
I'd feel more comfortable going to AmRen.
Yeah, I can respect that. I can respect your position there. I agree with you, actually. Although, I probably wouldn't go to MPI, to be very honest, because it's too modern, it's too nationalist, it's too American as well in its approach and attitude. Not that I have anything against anyone who's involved with it, but it's just not 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 my thing. Well, I say that, would I give a talk then? Depends. But the general vibe is that nah, it's not really my domain. Ah, dear. Are the traditional Britain group paleoconservatives? I suppose, but they call themselves many things. The name is the title is important, traditional, but as we know, traditionalist, these words don't mean a lot.
Oh, we've got a shill for modernity in the comment section. Just bring him in, and we can bully him here. Cater.
I'm not going to bully
Bring him in,
Cater.
bring him-
I don't
strap
want to
him to the
bully Cater. I
folding
like
chair.
Cater. No. Cater can blather on all he likes. I don't mind. Okay, so you're going to be talking to Jez Turner. Oh, good grief. What's that all about? I'm interested now. Just, you have to message me privately if you want. I don't mind. But if you're doing that, that's interesting. I wonder why.
Do you think he should join? I think he should join us. I just want to hear what he has to say about modernity.
No, I can't be fucking bothered with all that. I want to do my talk with Cater about it anyway at some point.
Oh,
We'll
yeah.
do that in a
That
Plebeian
will be
podcast or
interesting,
something.
you know.
Yeah, we are going
I
to do that.
really liked when Cater got you to talk on to Chad Brennan. That was really interesting.
I can barely remember it for some reason. I'm thinking and trying to remember it. I have a sneaking suspicion that I sounded like a moron. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways,
well, I'm looking forward to hearing that talk between you and Cater at the very least.
yeah, would be a cool chat. Eh?
Yeah. Your profile picture makes me want you to take a comb and like run the front part of your hair up.
Fuck off, man. That's the gayest thing anyone's ever said to me. I'll let you do it. It's all right.
Sorry, didn't mean to go full implicit there.
You can be as implicit as you like.
Oh God.
Yeah, if we're like when we do it, if we do like a live stream together, sat here, we'll be very close.
Oh, of course, yeah. When you and your fucking Top Shop shirts or whatever that shit is.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that it goes without saying, but one of the things that people really need to focus on is sometimes people get ignoring all of the sort of intellectual stuff. People should focus primarily on living healthily, and that means putting only good stuff in your bodies. Drink as much water as possible, and try not to consume any sort of weird medications. Like most things from the doctors are you should I'm not saying don't take them. I mean, like antibiotics, by all means, that's great to take, but like things where it gets into like messing with your serotonin levels, like psychiatrist stuff, like most of that stuff is probably not that great for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
just in my opinion.
We all are speaking from experience, aren't you, lad? Unfortunately, but this is the thing I always say: don't fucking bother. If you're feeling down, talk to someone or do something active, or have a glass of water. It's a terrible thing to rely on medication for what is fundamentally a spiritual problem and a moral problem and an existential problem and an emotional and stimulative problem. People feel bad because there's an emptiness in their lives, not because there's something wrong with their brain. Their brain is just responding to the emptiness, and by nullifying their brain, they aren't actually solving the problem. How long has this chat gone on? Not too long. About 20 minutes. 20 minutes, half an hour. Well, yeah, Spencer has invited non-Europeans to MPI. My personal opinion on that sort of thing is that it's a mistake. I mean, I don't think they should. I think it is inherently it is a white American gathering, and it uses that vocabulary and language and approach, and so on and so forth.
I think the MPI should be an exclusively Spencerian place of meeting.
Spencerian. Oh, it's quintessentially implicit, I imagine. Yeah, I don't know. I think with these sorts of things, one has to discriminate. You can't just be inclusive and have everyone and pretend like you're a liberal. Pretend that you're a liberal. I think that's ridiculous. But yeah, there's nothing inherently wrong with discrimination. Discrimination, the worst discriminating against the best to the detriment of the best is, well, it's also an oxymoron, but that's not good. But when you have this sort of level of discrimination, I don't think it's a problem. I think it's natural. People will want to organize themselves in such fashions. Indeed, I think it should be encouraged. I think the places where ethnic and cultural and racial bounds are kind of overcome is in personal interaction, where differences are understood, and there doesn't need to be a metapolitical conflict or an implied conflict based upon metapolitics. I think at the level of the person, like me and Ed, we get on and get on very well and have great respect for one another, because we transcend our racial differences. At the same time, we appreciate and respect each other's racial differences, and we understand each other, and we, in our conversations and our approaches to things, we accommodate each other's racial differences, and we can do that because we know each other personally. We know how to navigate one another, and that's something which can only happen properly at the individual level, at a sensitive and personal level, as opposed to a kind of flat egalitarian politic.
Yeah, very well put. Very well put.
Mm.
And this is the reason why you can have port cities and you can have trade and sort of multiculturalism in that aspect, but you can't have vast swathes of huge groups of people. It's only a few delegates that should really be being sent from each respective society abroad who are capable of that sort of interfacing.
Yeah, I suppose in that respect, when there is a common bond beyond common cultural culture and so on and so forth. With you and I, however, I do think it is similarly our own particular personal quests for understanding of ourselves and our particular races which actually unites us. You and I are united in our differences. And because our differences are genuine and are serious and are real and profound, and because we are honest and open with each other, and it is in that honesty where racial differences in your understanding of the world as a Hebrew and my understanding of the world as an Englishman, as an Anglo, are transcended. But this is only something which I believe can happen at the personal level, where these things can be openly explored and analyzed without any prejudice or conflict. And at the level of a mass politic or societal conflict, these things don't happen, and they can't happen. But let me just read over One Man Chorus comments. He says, Adam, your friendship with Ed shows your differences aren't racial. The races don't understand each other's minds. No, I disagree. I think mine and Ed's differences are racial. We have different constitutions physiologically, spiritually, mentally. However, it is because we. I think it's the common. It's I'm trying to work this through. I think it's the mirror image of our differences, putting them parallel to one another, through which we're united and through which we have a friendship. Because I accept you as someone who is a Hebrew, and I understand you because you're honest with me about who you are and the ways in which you exist and understand the world, and vice versa. And that's how we approach common understanding, because you are clearly defined and I am clearly defined, and it's because of our differences. So I don't believe we've obviously we transcend our ethnicities, our biological race. We overcome any potential conflict there, but we aren't enemies, and we have no need to be. Could you be as close to a Nigerian nationalist? Probably not. Just based upon my own views of Africans. Not to say that I could never get on with any Africans, but no, I probably not. No, I've had conversations with Nigerian nationalists actually, and we got on at an acquainted and friendly level. But I don't think I could ever be close friends with one, nor truly comprehend them, as well as having that comprehension reciprocated, and that's very important. So, maybe it's just my own kind of prejudices kicking in, but with regard to questions of race from this sort of perspective, I do take Evelyn's viewpoint, that the subterranean and the solar are strongly differentiated. And obviously, human beings can understand each other to an extent, but there can never be an affinity between the two, a strong affinity, that is. Whereas, although I am Germanic as an Englishman, I am Aryan. I think Ed is not Aryan in that sense. You are Afro-Asiatic, even though you have light skin and blue eyes. So I don't know, maybe you should look into that. But I think that if there is still, then we still speak in familiar enough languages, and not just actual language, but we exist at a similar enough wavelength wherein we can perceive each other and reciprocate comprehension of one another. I don't believe a sub-Saharan African, for example, a Kenyan, personally, in my opinion, I don't believe they would be spiritually intelligent enough to do the same, at least not to the same depth someone like Ed could, or someone like James, or someone like Jack, or people who are close friends of mine. There's a reason why they're all, for the most part, European or Indo-Aryan, or of the kind of that part of the world.
Asia, Europe.
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah. And clearly, because you have blue eyes, you obviously have some certain blood in you from somewhere.
some certain blood. Some good band name. I think that I will do a 23andMe eventually.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if you had like Aryan blood in you.
You never know.
I genuinely wouldn't surprise
me. We shall find out. I really have absolutely no idea what awaits me. I mean, I have a lot of guesses, but we shall find out. I think that on the subject of sort of differentiation and whatnot, the thing about Africans is, or let's say an Aboriginal nationalist is, I feel like it would be, even if you did get along with them on all other issues, I feel like when it came to a discussion of differences between peoples, again, like you said, they might get sort of personally offended in some of the terms, that are spoken in,
Yeah.
etc. Yeah.
Well, that's cultural. I use the term spiritual intelligence, and that's kind of murky term. But I think what I mean by that is a sense of affinity. I think actually it's caste affinity. I think you and I, Ed, are both in an order society. We would both be of high caste, of a high spiritual understanding to a degree. Um, we would have an adept understanding of.
Perhaps I'd say I'm more of a low medium, but
I must say this, I genuinely believe you are a Kshatriya. I genuinely believe you are a warrior, but it's something which is convoluted and chaotic, due to the circumstances within which you found yourself, and also the fact that you are Jewish. This is something you and I have spoken of before, and we won't go into the Jewish question because we will do that. I want to do that when you're here, when we're next to each other, and we can look at each other, eye contact, all the rest of it. But yeah, I believe you are Kshatriya. I'm moving slowly towards the opinion, in agreement with a few people, that I am actually a Brahmin. In a sense, I am of that type. In a particular way, I don't believe I'm as priestly as some other friends I have, and as contemplative and contemplative, sorry, or as scholarly. For me, I'm more a poet in that sense than a mathematician, if you see what I mean. But yeah, I believe you and I. That's where you and I have our, because we are both spiritually intelligent. That's where we can. That's where we actually comprehend one another and we understand one another. I don't believe Aboriginal people of Australia, etc., and sub-Saharan Africans, for the most part, there are possibly exceptions. I don't believe they're actually capable of a high level of spiritual intelligence, which is why they've never developed civilization, and they've never developed an understanding of logos or of actually fleshed out metaphysical systems. Which is a shame in a way, but that's the way it is. That's the way the world works. That's probably a very radical thing for me to say. It's funny. I get called a cuck by National Socialists, and yet here I am saying that sub-Saharan Africans can never actually have a real civilization just because. So I don't know who's edgier.
I think that this is not directly related, but this is on a similar note on the matter of comparing cultures and whatnot. Recently, I found that in some ways, I find it more easy to get on with some of the more conservative, reactionary Mohammedans than some of the leftist, atheistic Jews.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I think again, it's the Jewish topic. We get into it. But I think it is a case with Jewishness and the Jews as a race, as a people. They are very they've been cast to the whirlwind, if you see what I mean, in a sense. We can go into that at various levels. We'll fucking save that. We'll save it for when we do the actual. We'll have a nice lengthy discussion about the Jewish question. You and I will go into all of its aspects. We'll go into the history. We'll just have a nice open forum on it. Oh yeah, fuck's sake. One man's chorus says, Adam, there are no black ascetics, no black ascetics. Christian, Judaism, and Buddhism all have an ascetic tradition, of course. I think there are certain rites and ceremonies and so on which exist in indigenous sub-Saharan Africa and etc. traditions, but they are in no way comparable to the like which you see in the Middle East and Europe.
I would say different from this though is the Afro-Asiatic peoples of Africa, of Ethiopians and whatnot, or remnants of old Aksum and Kush, Somalia region, etc. They had a written language, for instance, whereas the Bantu variants, the Nostrili ones, did not.
Yeah. That's interesting. So, like I said, I don't think it's totally, blank slate. Everyone who is an African is worthless, is an animal. Of course not. but I do think it's just the nature of that part of the world and its position and its composition. I take an Evolian view, basically, an Evolian understanding of these things, which will probably upset a lot of quote traditionalists unquote. But there you go, by basically my pseudo fascism out in the open. So. A good day, Octavian. Cunt. Right, anyway. Monsman's chorus speaks of the Native American vision quest as a time of asceticism because it involves a mastery of appetites. Yeah, I do think you have forms of spiritual practice in everywhere in the world. I think man, by his very nature, all types of man and all flavors of man, even based abos, do have forms of spiritual ceremony and ritual, and asceticism does come into that. But I don't think that that doesn't constitute a fleshed out metaphysics. The native Indians of America, the Amerindians, the Native Americans, they never had an understanding of metaphysics. They never had an Aquinas. That wasn't an accident. And it's the same with sub-Saharan Africans for the most part. There is no Dante in that part of the world, or in Australia, naturally, etc., etc. You don't have these kind of mystics and poets and
no Bantu Dante.
No Bantu Dante. No. Yeah. Bantu Dante. No, you don't. You don't have any of these people. I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna get a cup of tea. You can have a look at the comments if you like.
I guess it's just me and you, Adam's audience. Dante was an Abba, TBH. All right, here come the Aboriginals are natural aristocrats comments. I don't even need to say anything. The entertainment creates itself. The white man ever invented the pointed stick? No. I wonder who discovered Aborigines first, in terms aside from the people who the Aborigines presumably killed, who are the indigenous people to the region, such as the Lake Mungo Man remains. I assume it was the Polynesians, or afterwards one of that Oriental group that came afterwards. I forget the name of it. And then later there were Mohammedan merchants and Jewish merchants, and I wonder what they made of them. Someone said the boomerang wasn't even an Abo invention. That's news to me. Someone says I'm a big guy. I say for you. Apparently the Maori ate the native New Zealanders. Did they? Someone said how bullshit is the Khazar Jewish origin theory. I mean, presumably a very small fraction of Jews today have some form of Khazar ancestry. Specifically, I think that a small subset of the group known as Juhurim today, I know that there are several of them who actually have the last name Khazar. So at the very least, those Jews likely have at least some Khazar ancestry, although even that may be just added on after the fact. In reality, the only evidence of Khazar conversion was it was amongst the nobles, who would be concentrated generally around the area of Atil, which was sort of in the North Caucasus region, sort of lower Ukraine, North Caucasus, if I'm not mistaken. So the idea that Khazars became Ashkenazim, I believe, was primarily pushed forward by Jewish author Arthur Koestler in order to invalidate the quote-unquote racist propaganda against the Jews that that was saying that they weren't real Europeans, they were Middle Easterners, and thus they don't belong in Europe. He was effectively trying to say, aha, gotcha, in fact, Jews are, well, if not Europeans, they're closer to Europe than the Levant is. But in reality, the Khazar theory doesn't actually hold any ground, genetically speaking. There's only one proponent, there's only one person, one geneticist who actually tries to push forward the Khazar theory, and that's El Haik, and I can debunk him quite easily. His methodology is faulty, and he's actually been debunked by the person who gathered the samples that he used to make his faulty point. Effectively, he uses. Remember how I was talking about the Khazar royals converting to Judaism? That was, first of all, not only was it only documented in small amounts amongst the nobles, but it was only in that northern region, presumably, where the nobles were concentrated. Khazaria, for only a very brief period of time, overlapped with modern-day Georgia, yet El Haik uses modern-day Georgian samples to represent ancient Khazars, which is very odd. He's obviously sort of shifting the facts and using false methodology to get sort of weird skewed results. And there's actually a really good debunking of this on there are several really good debunkings of this, but one of them is on Awale Abdi's blog. He's a very good Somali anthropologist. Yeah, I think it's called Anthro Madness, so go check it out if you're interested.
Anthro Madness. I don't have enough time in the fucking week to listen to all these hangouts and podcasts, says Octavian. Fucking good, you Aussie cunt. I don't even want you anyway. No, I just do. No, I'm only doing this because I thought, well, I didn't sleep. Got nothing to do for a short while, so I figured Ed was awake. And, we just sit around and talk shit like usual.
You're welcome, Charlemagne.
Charlemagne, fucking good name.
Charlemagne killed 6 million pagans.
Fucking my 6 million pagans, my Northern Crusades, fucking Christ cocks, dead kike on a stick. Fuck. I can't do all that. Oh dear. Am I Christian? Aren't we all? Of course I am. I'm a European. We was Asia and shit. T pagan larper. Charlemagne killed 6 million of Europe's best Aryans. Oh dear. This meme, I remember when it started. Do we remember? I don't want to stoke any banter fires, but I'm gonna have to a little bit. When Millennial Woes did his Millennial Hangouts last year, and Kyle Hunt and the Renegade crew decided to gate crash one of the Hangouts, and someone had Charlemagne as his avatar, and Kyle Hunt was all fucking, oh, Charlemagne, who killed 6,000 of Europe's brightest and best, and all this sort of thing. Fucking just kvetching and whining, because my Northern Crusades, my sacred trees, and all this sort of thing. Oh, good grief! The salt was delicious. Oh dear. I mean, in short, I don't believe like the desecration of pagan holy sites was a nice thing to do. If I was a Christian, then I wouldn't have done that. But I don't believe it was perhaps necessary. For instance, what Boniface did, cutting down one of the sacred trees of the Germans, rather vulgar and needless, but there you go. We aren't going to go over the whole paganism versus Christianity question. We've addressed it so many times. I did an entire fucking series of discussions about this topic, and it's been mentioned time and time and time and time and time again since. So yeah, We aren't going down that road again. The Vikings were assholes, to be very honest, lads. Yeah. Fucking Quintus Veritas, they were sea chavs. They basically were. The Vikings just went around fucking killing things for no reason. Like, that was it. They just went around plundering like a bunch of cunts.
They also collaborated with Jews and Muslims effectively against other Europeans, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm not trying to do this as sort of like a black pill on the Vikings. Like, you know, basically they were open to trade with anyone. That's not quite fair, the statement I just made. But effectively, they found goods, including most notably an Islamic ring. That was made, I think, somewhere in West Asia, if I'm not mistaken, or North Africa, that was found in the possession of some Vikings. And if I'm not mistaken, Vikings actually captured Europeans, enslaved them, sold them to, Islamic and Jewish slave traders and whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, this was one period in history. And at the same point, it's unfair for me to single them out because every European nation did have a day of collaborating with the caliphate in a way. You know, at one point, parts of France did it. Venice used to collaborate with the Ottomans, I believe, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, it was, it's not fair to single them out, but that was an interesting period of history.
Yeah. I mean, the Vikings are absolute pricks, to be quite honest, when they came to England. Just fucking destroyed half the country. Destroyed all the fucking monasteries and libraries. They destroyed Jarrow. They set English monasticism back about 3 fucking centuries, just due to the amount of knowledge they destroyed. And it took 2 centuries to regain what was lost, and then for Aethelstan to abolish Danelaw. I mean, but just what a bunch of cunts. They were just sea chavs. Just pure sea chavery, that's all it was. Damn Danish bastards. Anyway, enough whining about the Vikings. How long have we
Tell
been...
me about Danelaw.
Danelaw? Oh, good grief. I'm no military historian. But Danelaw was basically the area of the northeast of England which the fucking Vikings conquered. But it was a truce established. They basically landed in the northeast of England and basically just marched southwest through half of the fucking country, destroying everything. And Alfred had to pull together a load of various kingdoms and tribes and all the rest of it to defend the southwest and his kingdom of Wessex against the Vikings. He fought them to a draw, whereupon a truce was established, which basically gave half the country to the Danes, which operated under their laws, and I think there were, people under that had to pay a tax to them, and all this sort of thing, and that existed for 200 years until eventually it was overturned, and the Danes were basically banished or killed to the last man under Aethelstan. And then Aethelstan declared himself the king of the English, and of all of England, by the way. And that was in the 1000s. So, I mean, Alfred was in the late 700s. That's when you had the Danish invasions. And then that lasted for 250 years of Danelaw in the northeast in England. And then, and they left nothing as well. Like, it's amazing. They gave us fucking nothing. At least the Romans gave us their roads and a few words. The Vikings did nothing for the English. All they did was set back learning for 300 years, and that was it. And then take a load of gold.
There was this Danish guy I heard going on and on about how great Danelaw was.
That's some nonsense over somewhere else. But no, Danelaw was not good.
I mean, perhaps it was good for the Danes.
The Danish presence in England was not a good thing for the English. And it wasn't even good for the Danes because they didn't do anything with it. All they did was just get rich and fat. They didn't make a civilization or anything. They didn't contribute anything to anything. They just sat around and pillaged when they weren't sitting around, of course. So... Anyway, for everything I've just said, the source is Norman F. Cancel's The English: A History of Politics and Society to 1760, which I would recommend. It's a very good book on history. Yeah, Porky Longpig says, "Dear God, deliver us from the Norsemen and their dogs," was a common prayer. In short, yeah. They gave nothing, took everything, as Ad Hominis says. I mean, I will respect right of conquest. I will respect a military advance. I think the fact is the Vikings did take half of fucking England. Like they managed to do that, and they were basically just a bunch of fucking sea chaps. It proved the weakness of the English kings at the time over their and the dominion which they had over their various kingdoms, etc. But aside from proving the weakness of the separate English kings, which Alfred the Great then remedied by unifying England under God, under the Christian God, I mean, nothing positive came of it apart from, well, I suppose Alfred, it acted as a kind of synthesis, the establishment of Danelaw and then Aethelstan in the 10th century, etc. So I think the only good which came out of it was, I suppose, the creation of England. In a roundabout fashion, the fact that Alfred, he had a defeat and then he retreated back to the plains of Somerset where he prayed to God, and then he, after reading Bede's history, decided that he had to unify England under one God and one banner and one kingdom, which was Wessex, which is where I am in the country actually. Thereupon, that's what happened. And then, obviously, like I said, 4 times now, by the 10th century, Aethelstan had basically achieved what Alfred set out to do. Do I think, quote, current year Christianity, unquote, will destroy the faith, or do you think Christianity will withstand time, place, and people? Christianity will only survive if the people survive, if Christians survive, if the men within the church survive and remain upright. If that doesn't happen, then it will collapse, and Europe will collapse with it as a cultural entity. In my opinion, at least, we will see a revival of the faith, or Europe will fall to the pages of history. In my opinion, it is as black and white as that. Obviously, how to repair Europe, how to get people back to the faith is a difficult question, but my prognosis is, from the simple point of view, is that. Adam, what do you think of Sulla? I don't know. I don't know who Sulla is. The name is familiar, but I can't place it right now. Adam, let Cater in, god damn it. Slash, just kidding, he says. Come on, lad, blaspheming. Bit tasteless. But no, I think we'll be closing this in about 10 minutes. So, if we were still going for it, if you said an hour left, then I would say yes, sure. But 10 minutes, I'm sorry. Sorry, Cater, another time. Later to fucking day, when we have our podcast about art and politics, Cater, if you're going to be there. And I hope you are. So that's when we'll get to hear Cater. All right, really, I think that's kind of it for now. Actually, 10 minutes. We don't have much time. Well, no, 10 minutes. Fuck. I really should have gone to sleep, but I couldn't. So now I'm all fucking all over the place. My leg is twitching like mad. Anyway,
All right.
I think we can close shop here. I can wake up a little bit more and do some stuff. Yeah, thank you everyone for listening. There will be a podcast later about art and politics. There will be more things on the way. As I said, from this weekend, so from tomorrow, really, I will be being far more active on YouTube. There will be videos every single day apart from Thursday, to my knowledge, and obviously the weekend. But that was that, and that will be that, and that is that. Shut the fuck up about it.
Also, I may do a stream on my channel in a few minutes.
That's
to anyone
fine.
who's
Yeah,
interested.
people can go watch Ed. I'm gonna do other things. I've been talking for ages, so
Listen, get some rest, okay? Tomorrow, hopefully, will be an excellent podcast.
no. Friday is today, my lad.
I mean today, tomorrow. Tomorrow for you. Today for me.
Oh right. Well, no. It's Friday for me, mate.
Yes, but it's you have sleep separating that from you.
No, I don't. I'm not gonna go to sleep. It's 10 o'clock. If I go to sleep, I'll miss it.
You're right. Being a sleep cuck 2016, you're better than that.
I will go to sleep after the podcast because I wanted to reset my sleep schedule anyway because I was waking up too late. So
Just
there
send
you
me
go.
the magic link. Send me the magic link in Skype, okay?
Yes, fucking bookmark it. Fucking write it
Thank
down,
you.
like a tattoo it on
I
your
will.
fucking hand.
On
or
my
something.
hand, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. We'll see you guys later. Thank you for listening. And thank you, Ed, for being with me and persevering with my bullshit.
It was my pleasure.